Good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Unquiet Mind podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Morgan. I am so thrilled to have a wonderful guest. Been waiting to talk with him. His name is Tyler Campbell. And you probably have heard all about Tyler Campbell. I will certainly say more, but I don't want to take over the interview or the conversation. I want him to share all about who he is and introduce himself to the audience. So welcome.
Hey, it is a pleasure. And you know what's amazing? You see how dots get connected because Don had the chance to be on for another podcast and finally got the chance to meet you because I had heard so much. And so this is the closest I'm going to get to Washington, D.C. right now for the near future. So I'm embracing all of it, Don. So I'm honored to be here. Honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, like you said, we did speak on another podcast, and the young woman that we spoke with on her podcast, Kathy
Yeah.
Chester, she was so thrilled and so excited. She was like, "Have you met Tyler? Have you heard about Tyler?" And I was just like, "No, I don't know. I thought I knew everybody in the MS world, but yes, I don't." And then when she started telling me, I was like, "Oh my God, I have to talk." So I was really overjoyed to speak with you and then the other gentleman in the podcast. And it's just nice to connect and be in a space with you. I mean, if we have to be in this
This
space, meaning
space.
the ed space, I'm happy to be here with you.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So would you mind sharing just a bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. And very similar. It's always interesting because, for a lot of us, for most of us, we don't like live our lives and then, think about MS coming to our door and knocking and us letting it in. That's not, as a Black man, it's for me, it was sickle cell, high blood pressure, cancer, high cholesterol. Those were the things that I was accustomed to being aware of. Like you kind of know or have heard of those things. MS was not in that field. So for me, I was 21 years old, scholarship football athlete at San Diego State University, which was a blessing. And I literally just woke up the next day after playing a game. And I woke up at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just like I always do as an athlete. And I fell flat on my face. And I want everybody to put that in perspective because I think we all go to sleep and we expect to be able to wake up and walk. Like if you have the capability to, you expect the next day is going to be just like that. And for me, I woke up out of bed, Dawn, I fell flat on my face. I fell flat on my face without warning, paralysis down the right side of my body. My equilibrium was totally gone. It's pitch black, it's dark. And then I'm also noticing when I go to kind of yell for help to my college roommate, the words aren't coming out. It feels like my tongue is stuck to the roof of my mouth. And so I'm scared. I'm panicked. It's pitch black. I'm trying to get to the restroom. I can't walk. I just played a football game yesterday and it was normal. And now I can't do it. I can't walk. I can't. So that was my introduction. That was me meeting MS one-on-one. And eventually I got to the neurologist and we know the story. You have the spinal taps and you have the MRIs and it revealed lesions on my brain. I think what was unique was the fact that I was an athlete and that this didn't classified as an athletic injury. So therefore I was forced to navigate the healthcare system on my own with my diagnosis at the age of 21 because it wasn't football related. So my family was in Texas. I'm in school in California. So I navigated MS by myself at 21. That was my introduction to multiple sclerosis. Now, a lot of people will look up and they will see that, oh, you went on to go play football. You did that. You played football with this disease and you almost made it to the NFL and, you had the relapse. And so, dang, feel bad for you. I want people to really and truly know, Don, I played football out of fear. I played football because I was scared with my diagnosis that if I spoke up and told my coaches about it, I was going to lose my scholarship.
So you
Because,
never.
right. Right. And so that's why I tell people my walk with MS is so similar to yours, because
Yeah.
I didn't tell my coaches. I told my friend at the time, who's now my wife. Her name is Shayna. She was a track and field athlete. I told her, not knowing as much about MS, I told her I have holes on my brain, lesions on this cortex, and I don't know what MS is. I'm trying to figure it out,
Right.
on my own. And so I played out of fear. I gave my injections in the bathroom stalls, and I'd wait till everybody left after practice, because if I said something, Don, are you going to take my education away? Am I going to get kicked out of school? It's not an athletic related injury. I'm actually more of a concern on the football team because I'm dealing with paralysis still. I'm dealing with cloudy brain. There was plenty of times where I played football and I would forget the plays that were called from the sideline, be like in the game in front of like 50, 60,000 people, and just being like, what is the play being called? Like, I know the signals, but it's not registering,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
definitely a lot of concern, but that's, I just want people to know that, like, in my culture, we are taught from birth not to necessarily open up about things. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And it really hurt me when I got to college and was really in a situation where I needed to
Right.
speak up about my MS diagnosis, because I was navigating the healthcare system. I was learning about medications. I only saw Montel Williams as a Black male who had the disease, and just scared of losing what I worked all my life to get, which wasn't even football, it was a free education. And it was so bad, Don, that I took all my finals left-handed with IV steroid balls in my pocket. Um, you're going to class, you're dragging your feet, people are looking at you. It was bad, but I wasn't comfortable enough to tell somebody.
You know, that- this gives me chills because there are layers to what you're saying. Not only culturally, what stays in this house stays in this house, but also in terms of how disease or illness, a diagnosis is viewed to the world, or to our
Mhm.
particular society. I'll speak to here in the US. We're so terrified to be sick. I think most people are so terrified because you don't want to tell, because you don't want to jeopardize your finances, your family,
Mhm.
your, your, uh, your social life, none of
Right.
that. So it kind of puts you back in a place where you withdraw from the world and then you become a pretender. And so it
Yeah.
sounds to me like you became a pretender
I
football player. I mean, you were good. Yeah.
Very, very much so. You hit the nail on the head. And you know what's crazy, Don, is that I also didn't understand at my young
Mhm.
age that you can't get the help that's actually out there for you. In all actuality, it's a great place to get sick at a university because there are so many different resources at a
Right.
university. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? I think of people who are in rural areas. I think of people who are underserved. I think of people who aren't, on a scholarship, or have resources of a university.
Mhm. Mhm.
But my mind was so, I didn't know what I needed to know, that I
Mhm.
was actually standing on a fertile ground for answers, or for student accommodations, handicap accommodations,
Yeah.
a level of understanding, um, that my mind was, I guess, so dark in my way of thinking, so small in that way of thinking, I couldn't even see all the resources that were around me for aid,
Right.
you know. But it was actually the perfect place to get
To,
sick. Yep.
right.
Yep. It was a
Well,
perfect place to get sick, believe it or not.
I can understand that. And the thing is, people like we don't teach children, we don't teach adults, we don't teach anyone about, hey, if this happens to you, then this is a resource or this is where you should go. And I think a lot of people live life as if they're immortal. And we walk these
That's good, Don. Yeah.
sidewalks and these streets as if nothing will ever happen. And
Wow.
so we don't talk about resources and the things that are out there because there's a multitude. And I don't think that people would discriminate if you were to ask for accommodations. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't think so, but we have that fear because we're not taught it's okay to ask. It's okay.
Right. That's so
You know,
good. Oh wow, you hit the nail on the head. That is so good. And I just it could have been a much different experience for me.
mhm.
Um, it really could have been a different experience for me, but it turned into some of the toughest times in my life emotionally. And then erectile dysfunction came into play. And now I'm really not gonna say anything now, because this is erectile dysfunction. So we're not even gonna talk about that. So it started, and then it just got tougher and tougher and tougher from there. You know.
You there? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
still here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, we had a glitch, but you said you stopped with erectile dysfunction. I'm sorry, that was the
No,
last.
you're
Yeah,
fine. You're
yeah,
fine. No, I
yeah.
was saying because the symptoms, right? There kept being more things, you know. Um you as the recovery process started and I started to get some functioning back, then erectile dysfunction hit, and that was even more of a like, just what is going on. Then you really got, as a male, I really got into a place where I'm really not ever going to talk to anybody about this one.
Right.
um I'm really not. And so just all these other things that came with trying to understand what the heck MS is. And then it just got to the place where um the only time I would try to think about it or have to face it was, when medications came or when tough times came, and I tried to avoid it. And that's just, the history, the thing of avoidance doesn't ever help address a problem. And so I was doing more wrong to myself, adding to what MS was already doing. And those are my regrets. Those are lessons that I had to learn. But I just want to give people my heart so that they can know. Sometimes when they see the story, it's always like, Tyler was a football player. It came and he battled with this disease. But man, Tyler was very broken, um, very lonely, and very much can empathize, not sympathize, but empathize with the struggles of multiple sclerosis that others have with this disease.
You know, I am so in awe of your vulnerability. It took me a really, really long time to show who I really was, and
Mhm.
because I felt that MS had stripped me,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I had so much denial. I had so much grief. I had so much, I guess the 5 stages of grief. I was going through all of that and I didn't even know it because like you're still trying to figure out what is MS?
Mhm.
What is all of this? I don't even know. And I'm just going through the motions and not realizing that I was doing a disservice to myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, and I wanted to ask you, did you ever face a point in your journey where because you had worked so hard your whole life of being this top level, high performing athlete,
Mhm.
um, not to mention wanting to become academically prepared for the world, wherever that would take you.
Mhm.
And then here's this disease that strips you at the prime of your life. And I don't even want to use that word strip. It kind of comes in and knocks on the door and says, hello, I'm here.
That's good, Don. That's good.
um, but did you ever have thoughts of, I miss that person, or I miss the 25-year-old person who was in the NFL where I thought in my mind where I would be. Do you grieve that person, that this imaginary person?
Yeah, I think so here's what the the beautiful thing about life is that, I think sometimes it's often good that things don't work out the way that we envision. And the reason I say that is because I think sometimes we learn things about ourselves that we never knew were existent until trials and tribulations come. Now, it's easier to say those things when you're not going through them. But when you get to the other side, you get it, right? And so the blessing that came to me when I was in college was that I always had a phobia of speaking in front of people. Okay. Like large crowds, people, it terrified. That wasn't my strength. Okay. That wasn't my strength as a person. I waited to my senior year to take freshman speech. It was the last class I had to take to get my business management degree. That's how much I couldn't stand it. And so I walked into an Africana Studies speech class. And by this time, I think I have a month of MS underneath my belt, maybe a month and a half. And we start doing speaking stuff. And I gave a 15-minute speech without note cards. Everybody else used note cards. I didn't use note cards. And it was, when I did it, it set me free. It set me free in a way that football never, ever did for me. It gave me peace, and I actually had more fun doing that than I did with football. When I played football, I was very tense. I was very tight. I never felt loose. Right. And I guess that was life's really calling of actually trying to tell me, hey, this may not be what your life's mission is. But everybody in my dad played football, was a Hall of Famer. Like, I just felt like this. And what MS did was it caused me to look at life through a different lens. And I always wanted to make an impact. I thought I could only do that with a football by scoring a touchdown or getting a first down or causing people to rally around me that way. What MS did was it stripped that from me, told me it could be, those things could be taken away, but this is actually where your heart has been the whole time. It's just the fact that what was your greatest fear, you never thought it could be your greatest gain. And so I started to figure out that thing. And when I started to love that thing and address that thing that set me free and that gave me peace, it changed my perspective over MS. And I started to see that it can take my body, but MS will never take my words. And my words, when I deliver them, are a lot less painful than hitting 5 people and then wandering to the end zone or taking a couple of hits. It just showed me that your words can inspire and impact people just like football, if not more. And I think that's imperative, because the thing that we forget with MS is that you still have to look out for you in the process and care for you in the process from a goal standpoint. Your dreams don't die with this disease. You just have to find a new approach as to how you have to navigate them. And I think that was the thing that was gifted to me that I had to work at for a couple of years, right? This didn't happen overnight. I had to work to get comfortable, to see this new light, to embrace this new light, to love who I saw in the mirror, to not get frustrated when trying to walk through a doorway and you feel like you're walking through the doorway, but for some reason you keep hitting the side of the doorway because your equilibrium just goes, or getting in situations where the pain is shooting up your spine and it feels like somebody's got a hold of your spine and they're just shaking it and shaking, all these things that come with it. I still had to say, Tyler, you have being and you have purpose here. What is your purpose and what are you supposed to be doing with your life? And starting to really hone and focus in on that. And understand that you are a superhero, Tyler, because I love comic books growing up. So in my mind, I used to say that, hey, I'm just as much as the Incredible Hulk as he is, because I have a disease and I'm still going to keep fighting, to keep saving and to keep impacting with my disease. So that makes me a superhero, because I don't know how many people can have MS, go through what I've gone through, and still love life, or try to seek a friendship, or try to seek a relationship, or how many people would still do that with this disease? I don't know if they can. So I'm going to try to do those things. And guess what? That makes me just as much of a Marvel superhero as anybody else. I'm even closer than they. And so I used to make my imaginary world. I went back to those things that made me happy as a kid, which was reading comic books and DC comic books and eating honey buns underneath my bed. And it made my mom crazy with a flashlight. I made my own MS world. Yeah. And I played in it every day because psychologically, I had to learn how to cheer myself up.
Right.
I wasn't comfortable with getting those relationships and talking to people about MS. So if you can't do that, Tyler, can you get back to the root of figuring out what your purpose is in life? What do you still love to do? What is your calling? Like, search inwardly so you can be a blessing outwardly. How do you do that? And then in doing so, what tricks can you play with yourself mentally to still view yourself as valuable, as amazing, as loving, as truthful, as happy? And I went back to things that made me happy in my childhood, and I tricked myself into thinking that I was a superhero. And at the end of the day, if you're living with MS, you're a superhero. You're larger than life, because not everybody's built for this path. And it's not easy. It is not easy. But way more people are impacted with my voice than they ever will be from football. And so the way to answer your question, do I miss it? Yes. But guess what, Don? Every time I give a speech, every time I'm in a podcast, it's like I'm wearing my university stuff right now. I wear red and black. Those are my significant colors. And so I may not wear the pads, but I get on uniform and I get to speak still. I get nervous and I get butterflies before I give a keynote message. It's still there. It's just in a new approach, in a different avenue than a locker room and pads and a helmet.
Yeah.
You know, I do battle with a microphone now.
I love that. I'm just sitting here speechless and captivated by everything that you're saying. And you had mentioned at initial onset of the you stumbled, you fell out of the bed, your legs gave out, and you couldn't speak. I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think, and whatever people believe in, this is my personal belief. I think that God or the Most High or Almighty was showing you something right at that point of you not being able to speak. It was almost like a precursor to where he was taking you.
That's good, Don. Oh my gosh.
It's so interesting. It was like, I'm going to take this away so you know that this is where you're supposed to be. This is where I want you to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful, Don. No, and nobody put it in perspective that first one. That first symptom showing is, man, it's a scary thing. That's why I empathize totally with your listeners. I mean, it's scary. But to be able to have conversations like we're having now that's the shining light. Those are the things that we live to, where we can look back and say, man, holy crap, I've been through a lot and I'm still here. Yeah. I'm still standing, and there is purpose over your life. I just firmly believe that nobody is just here to exist. I don't believe that. And I feel like MS, not primary progressive, relapse and remitting, secondary progressive, whatever you are, even if you can just wiggle your finger like this, doggone it, you keep wiggling that finger till you can't wiggle it till tomorrow. If that's all you can do, then that's what you do.
Right.
But we are here. And by you wiggling that finger, it will inspire somebody else who feels like they have nothing to wiggle. And so we all have purpose and being, and I just different lights of life. I was looking for that purpose, and like you said, Don, it was there the whole time. It just took me a couple of years. Yeah. Be patient with yourself, right? Give yourself grace. Yeah. It took me a couple of years to get there.
Yeah.
Took me some years.
It took me a long time. I think I'm still, I don't know, still climbing.
It's a process. And that's why I tell people, please give yourself grace and do not measure your MS and your living with MS with anybody else. Right. Don't do that to yourself, and that, that's why I say, give yourself grace. The fact that if you can walk to the mailbox and back, give yourself grace. Feeding yourself today, you stood up today, whatever it is, those little things, you have got to focus on them, because the disease will have you focusing on what it has stripped and what you can't. That's the easy way for your mind to go. Brushing your teeth today, that is huge. Okay, those are the things. I made it an extra hour before falling asleep to take my normal nap. You know what I mean? Like all of those things. I remembered my children's names today without stuttering over them.
Right.
Victory.
Yes. I played soccer growing up, and I was actually going to go to college for soccer, but changed my mind. But that's another story. I was an athlete my whole life, pretty much, and not high performer like you, but I'm very much into sports and soccer especially, and so tennis. And I was a runner, and when MS affected my legs initially, like you fell, and I was stumbling and falling. And then over the years, it progressed, and I kind of lost the function of that. And I was so terrified and holding on to, what if I get in a wheelchair? What if I do this? And all of the what ifs started to happen. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Instead of preparing and saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, because you can breathe. This isn't a death sentence. You know, I had to self-soothe and talk myself through it. And I did. I was in a wheelchair, not in a wheelchair permanently, but I would use it a lot. I used this motorized scooter. And one day after taking medication and listening to my doctor and being compliant,
there you go. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
It's very hard. I woke up and walked down the stairs and was in the kitchen.
Come on, Dawn. Come on.
Making breakfast for my son. And I don't know. It took me maybe 20 minutes to realize you didn't use a cane. You're walking. My story is, and we're not going to talk about my story right now, but it's crazy. I literally woke up from going to sleep, not being able to walk a straight path more than 2 feet, to being able to walk, being able to run, being able to play tennis, being able to kick a soccer ball. I thought I had lost all of that. And I just woke up one day and it was there. It was back again.
Yeah. And there's power within the mind, body, and soul. And the beautiful thing is, you control those things. You have the ability to choose. You chose to just walk down. You chose to try to make breakfast for your son. We don't always like the choices that we have. But don't you dare allow yourself with this disease to think that you don't have a choice. That choice is allotted to you each and every day. And that's why I say it's you just have to change the way that you see things. And it takes time. You know, and I remember you sharing the story. And for me, it's more powerful because you're parenting at the same time. See, I wasn't parenting then. And parenting now, it's just you get more enamored with what you have been able to accomplish, Dawn, and do, because I'm a parent now. I get it. And having to shuffle and so what I know is, the more and more you're going to share, the more and more you look back over your life and you say, God, dog, I'm still here. Like, can you believe it, from where I once was, even if it's just where your mental fortitude is now. Maybe the physical is not there, but the way your mind is maybe in a totally different place. That is a win. That's huge. And so we have to look at life and measure things differently. And we cannot look at people who don't have our disease. And guess what? We can't look too far into the people who do have our disease. We can utilize them to help inspire them, to inspire us, or to say, yes, I can. But you don't have to measure day by day and feel like you're falling short if you're not where somebody else is. And I think we all know those stressors don't help us out at all. And so what I take from your story is what I needed. I need to be inspired from a parent's perspective, to know that that's what you were doing. It's going to change the way I try to fix my children's breakfast every morning, and perhaps maybe even savor the fact that I can cook them breakfast and I can hold a spoon. I need to savor that more. I need to not take that for granted. You know, I need to give myself grace when it doesn't feel as good making them breakfast that day, and not measure it towards yesterday, because yesterday was a totally different day. Today is here. So I take a lot from what you just said, as I know your listeners do too.
Well, I have to say thank you. Thank you for, I feel that when someone gives you your time, it is a gift because
Yeah.
you can't get that back.
Mm-mm.
And I am grateful for the gift of your time and your presence here with me. I look forward to being in this space and speaking with you more and just, collaborating on other, I don't know, we may have a project or something that we work on
Yeah,
in the
you never
future. I
know.
don't know. But I am overjoyed and so grateful for you coming on to talk and share your story. And I think you are fantastic. And I would love for you to tell the listeners where can people find you and all the things that you have that make up Tyler Campbell. That you
Hey, no, it's and so that's here's the blessing. So we'll round it out. The blessing was I gave time to something else outside of football. And because I gave time to my voice, I am blessed to now I have my own radio show here in Austin, Texas, on 104.9 The Horn, called Real Life, Real Talk. It's on a sports radio station, Don, but I don't talk anything about sports. It's just inspirational words. And they found me in the community when I was out of school, helping out kids and giving speeches in school. And so they found me in my community. And I've been on air for 2 years. It's the #1 show on Saturdays. So it's on 104.9 The Horn, and you can find all those episodes on SoundCloud. And my social media is at TC Speaks 32, and it is on all platforms. And because I gave way to my voice, I wrote a book over the last year because I went through the therapy process, Don, and therapy took me, over a year and a half, and it's called The Ball Came Out: Life from the Other Side of the Field. I got there because I finally started to get comfortable with addressing my past and freeing my spirit up, because walking with MS, it's hard to walk with MS if you have a past that you haven't dealt with, because the current is tough enough as it is. And so The Ball Came Out: Life from the Other Side of the Field. It is an Amazon bestseller, and it was on the Amazon bestselling list for 16 weeks. But it was making an impact in a different way than scoring touchdowns and just using my words, and I put them on paper. And I owe that all to going through therapy and counseling, which helped me love me in the mirror that much more, and just be confident. And those are the ways that you can keep up with me.
Thank you. I love the title. It's just perfect.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. The ball has come out in my life plenty of times. You better believe it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh, you have dropped a bomb of gems just coming out. This is just fantastic.
We'll
So
do it again, Don. We will do it again. And no matter what, please keeping on with what you're doing. Every guest matters. Every story matters. The more stories we have that are out there of people, the less lonely you feel. And you always want people to feel better about their MS experience than when it first hit us. That's the goal. More stories to latch onto. So your platform matters. And thank you for what you are doing. And please keeping on, even when you don't hear from somebody that you're doing a great job. Know that people are listening and they need what you have.
thank you. That is,
It matters.
I need
It matters. It matters.
Well, you heard where you can find him, and thank you for listening. I am always appreciative, and you don't have to tune in, but you do, and thank you.
Thank you.